All right, we got our guests, guys, so let's put a pause on this. We're going to bring in Daniel Oyefusi here in 1 second. After a quick word from Game Time, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. With 48 teams, it's the first time ever. It's the biggest World Cup ever, and let's be honest, getting tickets is going to be the hardest part. That's why Game Time is clutch, giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track ticket price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands, making going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, just download the account, make a code, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download Game Time today. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in ESPN Browns beat reporter Daniel Oyefusi to the show. Daniel was at the game yesterday. How you doing today, Daniel?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
I wish we had something to talk about.
Right. Born Monday.
Yeah, the good thing is there's never a lack of things to talk about. Daniel, let's start with your overall impressions. We started the show by giving a grade for Shedeur Sanders. What did you have him at yesterday overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give him a strong A. Now, was he perfect? No. I think, that interception that he threw in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, really kind of turned the tide and shifted the momentum. But I think every week we've seen improvements. I think that late in that game when you needed him to really rise to the occasion, he did. So, you're kind of grading on a curve and, grading based off the circumstances. I have to give him an A just for the way that he's improving little parts of his game every week, and then coming in big when they needed it most.
Daniel, it's hard for us to kind of tell. You hear things things either way, but when you look at Shedeur Sanders, how do you feel like the players are gravitating to him? We talked about on this show. Sometimes he's a lightning rod outside in terms of the media and the fan base. He generates a lot of buzz in-house. How do you feel like they're gravitating them to him and as him being a leader? And do you think that has also progressed over the first three games that he started?
Yeah, well, I would say that I think that his teammates are gravitating to him, and he noted that it's a little bit different. For him, being the backup and being the third quarterback for a long part of this season. But now that he's in that starting role, he's really allowed to kind of like be himself. He doesn't have to make press parts of his personality. He talks about each round sometimes, but he can also get serious as well. So being in that starting role is kind of giving him that agency and that power to really lead in his unique fashion. And I think at the end of the day, like, guys want somebody who they think is going to be able to lead them and make plays. I think that you're seeing it from the vets. I think you're seeing it from the most tenured vet on the team, Joel Bitonio, who says, like, I told him after the game, like, you're a competitor and I appreciate that. Like, you're fighting to the very end. He's shown that he can make plays. At the end of the day, like, they want a guy that they think that they can go out there and win with. And I think that, through 3 starts so far, one being a win and 2 some tough losses, despite that, I think he's shown that he can make plays and lead these guys to wins. I think that's what they gravitate to really at the end of the day.
Daniel, what stood out the most to me yesterday was I thought it was the first time all season that the quarterback lifted the play of the rest of the team, right? I thought the line pass blocked. I thought the pass blocking, considering how many injuries there were, I thought it was very good. We looked like we had a legitimate group of pass catchers yesterday, and I thought he really picked them up with some great anticipatory throws, and guys were on the same page for the most part. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do, and I think that it goes back to what I was talking about like them making Shedeur making those strides from game to game. So like when he went in the second half of the Baltimore game, like he looked like a 5th round pick who hadn't gotten a ton of reps with the first team offense. And then you go to the Raiders game where you see a little more comfort, you see the natural playmaking ability, and then you go to the 49ers game, which I thought that like was a little bit shaky in terms of him leaving plays on the field. And he talked about how he needs to feel confident to let it rip. We didn't see him hesitate in that Titans game. You saw a lot of confidence, and you saw the accumulation of those reps, as well as like these little things like the pocket management that even Kevin Stefanski talked about. Him knowing when to give up on a play. I thought that was like honestly one of the underrated parts of his game yesterday out, he would buy some time, but there were a couple third downs where he just threw the ball away and he was like, we'll live to see another down. Yep. So again, you're seeing that gradual progression that it really leads you to believe that the outlook could be bright for Shedeur Sanders.
Danny, we've been slugging it out for 15 minutes over the 2-point conversions. Just the idea to go for it down 8.
Forget the play call itself, but just put
that aside. Just the idea to go for 2 down 8. Where do you fall on that? Are you analytics or are you non-analytics?
I mean, I'm usually an analytics guy, and I guess like there's like the down 8 test. You know, you're play to win the game. Like that's really what the analytics say. You play to win the game, and the thought process is that you're going to get at least one of those 2-point conversions. So if you get the first one, then hey, all you need is a extra point to win the game. But if not, you know, the thought process is that you're going to get at least one of those 2. So if you get the second one, then you're at least tying it and you're going to overtime. Really, for me, it's like the like having a feel, and it's like Kevin Stefanski isn't calling plays. Tommy Reese is. Like, he hasn't been calling plays since week 10. So, you know, if you're in that CEO role as a head coach, like, it's like I need you to be like really locked in, situational football, having a feel for the game, and which is why I specifically wanted to ask Kevin about the process of calling that Wildcat play. And he said that before they even scored, like when they were driving down the field, it was already set in stone that they were going to run that Wildcat play. So that leads me to believe that, like, okay, well, there was no room for you know, just having a feel for the game and saying like, hey, I've got this, I'll be a rookie quarterback that is hot. He's been driving them down the field the last two possessions. Like, hey, let's keep the ball in his hands. Harold Fannin, they haven't been able to cover him all game. Let's try to draw something up. The play in itself, I don't think was terrible, because they run the Wildcat formation throughout, you know, the season at various points. I mean, usually it's just a direct snap and they run like a power or just right up the middle, but they kind of ran a variation of it with the reverse. And for whatever reason, you know, the execution wasn't there. I don't know if Quinshon had an option to hand it off on the pitch on the reverse, or if it was like, you know, he was just supposed to keep. I don't know. We haven't heard yet. So like, obviously now that the play fails, everyone's gonna pile on it. But, you know, in theory, like, the process wasn't awful. But, you know, I just kind of think like in that moment there has to be some wiggle room for, like, you know, the circumstances of the game and how things have been trending. And yeah, like in that moment, I would have kept the ball and Shedeur Sanders short.
I want to know what the first 2-point conversion was.
Yeah, so do I.
Like, honestly, we didn't ever see it because they fumbled the snap. Yeah. But I mean, this could be a completely different conversation if that one worked.
No, exactly. And I mean, Joel said that both of those plays were plays that they had run, you know, every Friday throughout the season. He said that they ran it against Philly in joint practices. So then I started racking my brain trying to think, because I remember I remember Kevin was practicing some trick plays in Philly. So then I was trying to think of like what they could have been doing there. I know there was like a little double pass for Harold Fannin that they did back then. I don't know, but at the end of the day, you know, like, this is a results-based business. So at the end of the day, like, you see 2 failed conversions, a 31-29 loss, and now the pitchforks are out, and like that's the nature of the business. But yeah, I mean, hindsight is, you know, whatever. Like, I probably would have given the ball to Shedeur in that moment, but they didn't, and now they have to live with the results.
Daniel, let's talk about the defense here. Myles Garrett did get his 1 sack to get to 20, leaving him just 2.5 away from tying, 3 from beating the record. But the defense arguably played its worst game of the year against an offense that had been the worst in football. Tony Pollard, who looked like he's washed up the last 2 years, ran all over the Browns yesterday. How big a factor do you think Malik Collins not playing was in all of this, of all the struggles of defense, but especially the running game?
Yeah, I was rewatching the game this morning, and I couldn't help but think, like, you know, was there maybe like a trickle-down effect? Because without him, you had, you know, Mason Graham kind of playing he was playing 45 snaps, but then you had Shelby Harris, Mike Hall, Sam Kamara, like all those guys played season-high snaps. I don't want to say like he had. I mean, I don't think you just take Malik Collins out of the lineup and then they run for 160 or whatever it was yards on the ground. Like, I don't think it was that pronounced. But I do think that, you know, you did see a little bit of that. And I honestly, like, I just got to give credit to the Titans. I thought really smart game plan in terms of, you know, really starting with what they did to neutralize Myles. You know, always having a chip, getting the ball out very, very quickly. At times they ran, you know, to him and they kind of used his aggressiveness against them. And it was just really a bad day at the office for, you know, what was really like the best run defense in the NFL entering that game. Obviously, Malik Collins would have helped, but I don't want to say that you take him out and then running for 160 yards or allowing 160 yards is acceptable. It's not.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
The game plan was good. It was smart. They took advantage of Myles Garrett's over-aggressive motor. They knew he came in wanting to get the sack. He was asked in pregame about getting the sack record as he stood 4 away. So it's obviously front of mind for not just fans, but for Myles. I mean, he was talking about it. Yeah. And I think his over-aggressiveness, they were running at him a lot, and oftentimes it was like 2 trains passing in the subway. Myles was zooming to the quarterback, and the quarterback had already given off the ball to a running back who was gashing him right past Myles' side. And look, when you got nothing but records to play for and you're not going for wins, I think that's probably going to happen. Do you think he gets the record, Daniel?
I do. I was kind of selfishly hoping he just kind of knocked it out the way last Sunday. I wrote a story on it. I was kind of asking him about that on Friday. So I was hoping all right, he got 4 and then we can kind of move on. But now it's all right, it starts to get a little dicey with 4 games left. You need 3 sacks. The next game is against the Bears offensive line and a quarterback in Caleb Williams that's been sacked, I think, 4th fewest in the NFL, only 20 times. So It's going to get a little bit tougher. You got Aaron Rodgers who gets the ball out quickly. I don't think he had a sack against the Steelers the last time they played. Josh Allen, who. Yeah. So it's going to get a little bit dicey, but I do think that he's been on such a tear the past couple of weeks. I think that he gets to it. It might get a little close, but I think he gets
Josh Allen's been sacked a lot this year, surprisingly.
Yes,
but
he's going to run it too.
Thanks, Daniel.
He's got 4 games to get 3. Daniel, thanks. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
See you, buddy.
Sure. Anytime.
That was